Valentine's Day is coming up, so I'm making a Valentine's Day card today. And it's a special card because it lights up. And I used the Tonic Craft Kit as well as the Chibitronics Starter Kit for the card, and I'm going to show you how I did it. My name is Julia, and I'm an enthusiastic card maker and paper crafter from Austria. Welcome to my channel, Julie's Kreativschatzkiste. So the papers and the dies I'm using today for my card are coming from Tonic Craft Kit number 87. It's called Hearts in Bloom, and it contains all these great special nesting hearts dies, as well as many other dies, and you can make a heart box as well. It also contains some foil fusion sheets, which I'm also going to use today. And here are the papers that are included in the kit. I'm not going to use all of them today, but I'm going to use some of them, and the decision was really hard, I can tell you, because they are all really beautiful. I started out by cutting the background die, which contains these beautiful decorations. And it's also a verso die, and I cut out the heart in the middle as well, because my plan is to make a raised heart in the middle, which then lights up. Next, I used this die with this kind of lines included, which I'm going to put over a piece of vellum, because I think that's the perfect piece to let the light shine through. And finally, I used two other nesting dies and made a frame out of some lighter pink paper. Out of the same paper, I cut out a little heart as well, and just to make it easier to follow, this is how I plan my card to be. The next step, of course, is preparing my vellum. I used pearl silver vellum, but I tried. It would be too much transparent because you would see the tapes of the Chibitronics starter kits through the vellum, which is why I had to make my vellum less transparent. And for doing that, I used the glimmer paste, which was also included in the Tonic Craft Kit. And by using the glimmer paste on the vellum, it's less transparent, so you don't see any forms through it anymore, but you still see the light shining through, which is really exactly what I want. Then I took out my blank card base and my Chibitronics starter kit. I have been wanting to use this starter kit for quite some time now, but there was never the perfect opportunity, until now. So I show you here all the pieces that are included in the starter kit. There are 4 batteries and 4 battery holders, there's some foam tapes as well as some copper tape, and there are 8 LED lights in different colors, although I didn't know that they were different colors at that point. I thought they were all white, but you'll see the colors later on. So next I started the planning. I put my background on my card blank, and I drew some pencil lines to see where I could place my batteries as well as my copper tape, because I wanted to have the background flat on the card, and just the heart in the middle I wanted to have raised. And that is where I plan to lay out all my different parts for the light up mechanics. I also placed my middle heart on the card because I had to make marks where I want to have my LED lights. So I made 5 marks for 5 LED lights to light up my entire heart. This piece of paper here is for the battery, and it's the mechanism so that the hearts only then light up if you press down on one point of the card. And I placed that exactly in the middle of my inner heart, and it fits perfectly behind the red paper so it's not seen. So I also made my pencil marks there. Also important to mention is that with the Chibitronics mechanism you need to be careful to have a negative as well as a positive line of copper tape on your card. And the positive as well as the negative line have to touch the LED lights in order for them to light up. However, the positive and the negative lines must not touch each other, which is why the planning and the layout in the beginning of the card is essential. The negative line is the line on the lower part of this battery mechanism, and the positive one is on the upper left of the mechanism. And what you see me doing is now drawing the negative as well as the positive line on my card blank to make it easier to place the copper tape later on. But maybe one more thing is worth mentioning. The copper tape can end at the last LED light, so it doesn't have to come back to the battery again. So here again is the draft of my mechanism. As you can see, I have the negative line on the inner side of the heart and the positive line closer to the outer edge, and they don't touch, but they go all through the 5 marking points for my LED lights. So here you see the LED lights. They have this triangular shape, and it's important to note that the longer side of the triangle has to go on the positive line of the copper tape, while the shorter side of the LED has to touch the negative line of the copper tape. I'm just checking and adjusting a little bit the placing of my LED lights here, just to make sure. Then I have adhered my battery holder to my card base. There is a tape already on the paper, which is very handy. Next, I'm placing my copper tape, which also has some adhesive attached to it. I'm starting with the negative line and I'm starting at the point marked on my battery holder. I'm trying to follow my pencil marks as close as possible, and I'm going to make as many straight lines as possible as well. You can make folds and curves with the copper tape. You just fold the tape and place it on top of each other. But the more straight lines you have, the easier it is, of course. Another thing that made my life easier is to cut the copper tape at about the length you need it, because then it's easier to manage and give it exactly the direction you want to have it in. I'm pretty sure if you cut it too short, you can always lay it on top of each other to still have the connection between the two copper tapes. I didn't try it, but I'm pretty sure it would work. So at the end of the negative line, I just cut off the tape and leave it be. And this is the first part of the mechanism, the negative line finished already. I'm just giving it a good press again to have all the folds flat and really connecting with each other. Now I'm going to do approximately the same with the positive tape. However, I started the left side of the battery holder. As you see, I start on the inside and fold it onto the outside and go over the paper there as well. Just to make sure it's the same copper tape you use for the negative as well as for the positive line, it's just the connecting points are different. And the positive line must not touch the negative line, as I said before. But on the other hand, you also have to see that the distance between the positive and the negative tape is not too wide, especially in the areas where you want to put an LED, because otherwise the LED cannot touch both of the lines. So it's really good to have the markings in place, just to know what you're doing when you're putting down the copper tape. And as you see here, I went up with my tape right beside the battery holder, and then I went around the negative line, which I have already placed on my card. And then I have the positive line on the outer edge of my heart. And there I'm placing it now with all the folds and as many straight lines as possible again. One thing I also tried is at the places I want to have an LED light, I wanted to have the lines as parallel as possible, because then it's easier to put the LED lights right in place with it touching both of the lines, the positive as well as the negative one. As you see, I tried to have a distance between the copper tapes at about 5 millimeters, I think, and that worked fine for me. And again, the copper tape can end where the last LED is placed, and it doesn't have to go back to the battery holder again. And here I can cut off the copper tape of the positive line, and actually the placing of the copper tape is finished now. It wasn't that difficult, but it's, as I said, important to have your card planned and your markings in place beforehand. In the starter kit included is also this circle-shaped foam tape, which is there to hold the battery right exactly in place where it should be. And I'm going to place that now on the battery holder. I'm taking care that the opening of the circle foam tape is exactly where my negative line is. I'm not sure if it is that important, but it made sense to me at the time. The next step is of course placing my LED lights. They have sticky backs, so you have to remove a cover before you can stick them down. As I said, the bigger part of the triangle should be on the positive line, and the small part, the tip of the triangle so to say, should be on the negative line. And it's important that the LED lights touch both lines in order for them to lighten up. I did mention at the beginning that I thought all the lights were white. They are not, but I didn't realize it at that. I probably didn't look very carefully, but I didn't see any markings which light has which color. Never mind, I liked the result, and that is what is most important. Okay, it's time to place the battery in the battery holder now and make the first test. And here the LED revealed their real colors. You cannot see it really well in this light, so I turned off my light and you can see the shining LEDs better now. One of the lights is not working, and first I thought maybe I had the Chibitronics starter kit lying around too long, but then I just pressed it down and placed it again, and then it started working. I was really glad. So as you see, it's really important to have it in the right place. I had the two pink lights next to each other, and I was thinking about changing the placing, but on the other hand, then I thought maybe they wouldn't stick anymore, so I just left them, and it's okay, I think. I was just really glad that all was working as planned. And I really loved this light up effect. Then the next test was to see if my light shines through my vellum. Unfortunately, it did, so this as well went according to plan, which I was really glad about again. So now I could start putting together the pieces for my card. I started out by cutting a rectangle out of this mirror cardstock because I thought the card could use a little bit more shine behind the background. I didn't like the white of the blank card so much. And in order to cut the heart at exactly the same place as the background, I made my pencil marks again on the background of the mirror cardstock and then cut out the heart again with the same die at exactly the same place as in the red background. And I could also glue these pieces together already because I didn't need anything in between them. And as I had my glue out already, I also glued this heart with these beams, these lightning beams, on top of my vellum. I knew in advance that the vellum and the glimmer paste wouldn't glue very well. So I used the place in the middle of the heart to put a lot of glue there, and then I put something really heavy on it. Really had to have patience. Actually, I was waiting overnight until it was dry and gluing very well. The next morning, I cut my vellum according to the heart shape. I didn't cut it at exactly the same size because I still wanted to put the frame on the outer edge of my hearts with the beams. So I glued that there next, and again I had to wait and be patient until it was dry. But this time I could do something in the meantime, because I had to compensate for the height of the battery and the light-up mechanism in my card. And I couldn't use foam tape because the edge of my inner heart was too small to cut the foam tape and curve it again. So this is why I decided to cut out this frame, which you see here, about 10 times again, and glue that on top of each other to compensate for the height of the mechanism. As I wanted to save this beautiful pink pearled paper, I also cut out most of the hearts in white and just the top layers, they are in pink. So then I could glue my background to my card base, and I glued my heart with the beams on my stacked frame dies. Next I took off the cover of this circle foam tape which holds my battery in place, and this way the upper part of the battery holder paper piece sticks down on the foam tape and is thus kind of flat. And then I glued my stacked frames with my vellum and my red heart piece on top. I'm glad that the LED lights are still working, and again I had to have patience until it was really dry. Next I used the Nuvo drops, which were also included in the Tonic Craft Kit, and I really like the effect on the background. I also really wanted to use this foil fusion which was included in the kit, and I did that on the inside because there was no space for it on the outside of the card. I cut out the form I wanted to use, and then I removed the cover from the back, and then it sticks down on the paper. After giving it a really good press again, I also removed the upper cover of the foil fusion sticker. And subsequently you can put the foil on top of the sticker and give it again a good press. And as easy as that, you have a great foiled impression on the inside of your card. It's so easy, I really love it. And again, I used the Nuvo drops also on the card inside. Next, I needed something that said press here, because otherwise the recipient of the card doesn't know to press in the middle of the card. So I used my eMark Go printer, and I printed the press here exactly on top of the small pink heart which I cut out before. The Tonic Craft Kit has a lot of good sentiments, but I thought as I have my printer out I can print my own. And I wanted to say, you light up my heart, which just fits perfectly to my card. So I printed that out in a color, which I color swatched in the eMark Go app from a photo I took from my card, and I glued my sentiment down on this light pink paper again to get a frame for my sentiment. And then I placed it on the right side of my heart, and my card was finished. I really like this card, it's so great. I can't wait to give it out on Valentine's Day. Just again, here's the light up effect, and here without my studio lights. You can see the lights even better then. I really love this light up effect. So this is my finished card, and I hope you enjoyed watching the video. If you did, please leave me a like or a comment, and I would be really glad if you would subscribe to my channel if you have not already done so. So happy Valentine's Day and see you next time. Servus!